take your paddling from the basic peel out, eddy turn, and ferry and step your paddling up a notch, you're ready to try surfing. Surfing is just like in the ocean, only we do it in the river. In the river, our features stay in one spot and the current moves past them. There are two types of surfing, front surfing and side surfing. So let's start with front surfing. Front surfing is primarily done on a wave, so let's look at how a wave forms and the parts of a wave. When the gradient of a river steepens and the banks get narrow, the current speeds up. As the current speeds up, it is forced up and over underwater obstacles or slower moving water, and this creates waves. Here's some names for different parts of the wave. You have the green water, which is dropping into the wave from upstream. The trough is the lowest part of the wave. The face is where we try to stay when we are carving back and forth, and the peak is at the top of the wave. Don't forget about the shoulders on each side of the wave, because if you go past them, you'll flush off. So how do I get onto that wave? Well, there are three methods. My preference is to ferry onto the wave. Do this by starting the ferry high and use the shoulder of the wave to guide you in. If you can't ferry onto the wave because there isn't an eddy, my next favorite is the catch the wave on the fly method. Approach the wave from upstream with your bow pointed upstream. Lean slightly back as you hit the trough. As you rise up on the face of the wave, lean forward and continue to paddle. I also like to add a slight ferry to the catch on the fly method because it helps you see the wave, and we always want to keep our eyes on the prize. The third method is to come in from below. This can work for small waves or waves that have a good eddy along their shoulder. Don't expect to plow up through a larger wave because it will just wear you out. So you caught the wave, congratulations, now what? Surf! When you're surfing, gravity is doing the work to hold you on the face of the wave. Cool! If you're on a steep wave, aka the face is getting near vertical, gravity will work too well and you'll have to slow down to avoid the trough. But if the face isn't steep and the wave feels weak and fleshy, you'll have to help gravity by leaning forward and paddling forward. Oftentimes the wave has both a steep face on one side and a low angle face on the other. On a nicely angled face, you can simply use rudders to carve back and forth. Ever see someone do a real cool trick on a wave? They use carving to get high to the peak and then they gain speed down the face. They initiated one of 100 different tricks that an instructor can help you pick out. In general, don't lean back. Leaning back is a common way to lose control. However, there are some tricks that involve a quick burst of leaning back, followed by leaning forward to regain your balance. And above all else, keep your upstream edge up. Front surfing was a blast. What else can we do in our kayaks? I got a good one. Let's go side surfing. Side surfing is primarily done in holes. Weren't you taught to avoid holes? Nah, only some holes are bad, like the ones at the base of a low-head dam. So let's take a look at how a hole forms, the parts of a hole, and what are some characteristics that make a hole friendlier to play in. A hole begins to form as water flows over a rock and drops down. You can imagine the water grabbing some air and bouncing off the bottom of the river. After the current is forced down, it changes direction and heads back to the surface. Just like in an eddy, some of this aerated water will actually recirculate and flow back upstream to where the hole began. This is called the foam pile. Other water will separate at the surface and continue heading downstream. Here are the parts of a hole. The water coming into the hole from upstream is called the green water. Where the green water meets the foam at the lowest point of a hole is called the seam. The point at the back end of the foam, where the current starts to separate from the water flowing upstream back into the hole and water flowing downstream, is called the boil line. Each side of the hole is referred to as the corners. When we're talking friendly holes, we're looking for a few features. We want a low angle of green water, so we don't have to sit with our edge real high. We want current flowing through the hole and continuing downstream, because if an eddy is feeding the hole, it will be much stronger. We also want the corners to be downstream of the midpoint of the hole. This will facilitate exit when we get tired. Okay, the good stuff. First, get into the hole. This can be done the same way as front surfing. Now there are 3 things to do so you won't get dunked. Keep your upstream edge up. Look at where the water is flowing under your boat for maximum stability. Only paddle on the downstream side. Oh yeah, and in general, don't lean back. Skip one of these and you'll understand why some people says it feels like being in a washing machine. Have you ever come into a hole just to flush out the other corner? Not a bad way to test out the strength of a hole. But when you're ready to play, take a backstroke as you turn into the hole to stop your momentum. Once you have this side surf established, you can use a sculling brace to stay balanced. Got your balance? Take your weight off your paddle and paddle forward to go in that direction, or backwards to go that way. You can also rudder your paddle near your stern or bow to deflect water and push you forward or back. Want to learn cool tricks? It all starts from being able to move in a hole. Use the corners to reach the top of the foam pile just upstream of the boil line. Many tricks are initiated here, right on top of the foam pile. Other tricks like spins and cartwheels will be initiated at the corners of the hole where the current will help spin the boat.